Apocalypse plus Rebirth plus Hoarding plus Space plus Blackening Revenge of the Virgin Mary. The end of the world has arrived, the world has entered the Ice Age, and the materials in the game have come into reality. In the previous life, Jiang Wanning was hacked by a scumbag, calculated by her best friend, robbed of all her supplies by her family, and had her skin peeled and cramped by her neighbors. She only survived in the end of the world for less than a month. In this life, Jiang Wanning was reborn and returned. A month before the end of the world, she crazily hoarded materials in the game, built a safe house, and opened up virtual spaces. In the end of the world, when the neighbors were cut off from water, electricity, and heating, they froze into dogs. In order to grab a bite of pig food, Jiang Wanning ate hot pot wearing short sleeves. All the villains knelt down and apologized. Scumbag. Ning ning, I'll do laundry and cook for you as a licking dog. Please let me live in a safe house. Jiang Wanning. Sorry, my dog house is full. Jiang's family. Ning ning, we are a family that loves each other. How could you be so cruel? Jiang Wanning. I'm sorry, the genetic test doesn't match. You are not worthy to be my family. Mr. Ba. Jiang Wanning, let's make a deal. I will provide you with 2 barrels of instant noodles every day, and you can let me stay inside. Jiang Wanning. Come talk to me again when you can come up with more attractive exchange terms. Watching the villains who had once harmed her struggle and die in pain in the apocalypse, Jiang Wanning smiled calmly. Is the apocalypse scary? She is more comfortable than before. Chapter 1. Rebirth from the End of the World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You guys who kill thousands of dollars, Jiang Wanning is my granddaughter, leave me a thigh. Han Yulan sat on the ground crying bitterly. Jiang Wanning, who was bound up in various ways, watched helplessly as her neighbors were wielding kitchen knives and axes, crazily chopping at her limbs. On her deathbed, she saw evil and ferocious faces one after another. A month ago, the end of the world came and the Blue Star entered the Ice Age, putting humanity in a desperate situation of material shortage. After consuming all the stored grain, each household must take turns handing over a living person as food. Jiang Wanning was undoubtedly abandoned by her family. Her eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. If she could live a lifetime again, she would definitely make everyone here pay the price. Jiang Wanning slowly closed her eyes, her mind filled with boundless darkness, and the whole world fell silent. I don't know how long it took, but Jiang Wanning suddenly opened her eyes and sat up from the sofa with spasms all over her body. A news is being broadcasted on the TV. Unfortunately, due to force majeure, Penguin Farm will completely shut down its servers in a month. Thank you to all players for their companionship over the past 15 years. Goodbye, hardworking vegetable thief. As a holographic leisure and entertainment online game, Penguin Farm was popular for a while, with billions of players and almost carrying everyone's memories. Stealing vegetables is almost the first thing that everyone does when they open their eyes. But with the popularization of information entertainment, Penguin Farm is gradually being replaced by other games and short videos under Penguin Company, leaving few players left. The force majeure factors reported by the official report, to put it bluntly, are not making money. Penguin Company does not raise idle personnel and does not allow this type of business to continue. Not many people will pay attention to the fact that the local TV station inserted a broadcast for less than 5 seconds. Penguin Farm has long faded out of people's sight, shutting down servers is a matter of time, and this broadcast is just a formality. However, Jiang Wanning's pupils contracted and her heart rate accelerated rapidly. She remembers the moment when Penguin Farm shut down its servers, the end of the world officially came. That is to say, she was reborn and returned to a month before the end of the world. Jiang Wanning's excited heart almost jumped out. If this is just an ordinary rebirth, even if she hoards supplies in advance with her abilities, she won't be able to survive for too long. But she knew that this apocalypse was closely related to Penguin Farm. At the moment of the apocalypse, all materials in the game will be transferred to the real world. In her previous life, Jiang Wanning was able to recall her youth by casually clicking on Penguin Farm and harvesting crops that had not been harvested for over a decade after seeing this broadcast. After the end of the world, all the food she harvested became a reality. But these grains were immediately confiscated by her family, and she was only given one meal a day. Originally, their whole family could survive on these grains for 2 to 3 months, but her elder brother's nephew boasted in front of his friends and was envied by the neighbors, so they joined forces to rob her house completely. Later, when the entire building had eaten up all its food, the darkest aspect of human nature began to unfold. After discussion, each household took turns handing over one living person for others to live on. Jiang Wanning struggled not to think about this nauseating memory. As long as she is well prepared before the end of the world, she can not only survive, but also appreciate the tragic deaths of her neighbors. Thinking of this, Jiang Wanning's lips slightly curved upwards. "Aren't you trying to devour me alive? I'm 10 times, 100 times more vicious than you." Jiang Wanning eagerly opened her computer and logged into Penguin Farm. After a long process of data loading, she successfully entered the game. As a holographic game, Penguin Farm has a great sense of realism. Jiang Wanning can clearly see the flowers, plants, trees, and houses around her, as if she is in person. The system shows that she has not logged in for 2,687 days and is receiving a super return player card as a gift. With this card, you can receive generous rewards every day when logging in, and the upgrade speed will also be accelerated. In addition, you can enjoy a 50% discount on recharging within 30 days. 50% off. Jiang Wanning was extremely excited, which was an unexpected joy. You should know that in Penguin Farm, players have 2 types of game coins, one is gold coins and the other is star diamonds. Gold coins can be obtained through various means such as checking in, selling food, and completing tasks. They are free game coins, and as long as you are willing, there will be no shortage of gold coins. It is said that a woman in her 50s who has been logging in continuously for 15 years has obtained 4.2 billion gold coins, successfully testing the upper limit of gold coins. But due to the fact that coins can be obtained for free, their use is relatively small, and they can only buy some low-end products in the mall. This is also the ultimate pursuit of most players. Star diamonds can only be obtained through recharging and have a much greater impact. They can almost purchase any product, making them exclusive to Krypton. In order for Jiang Wanning to obtain sufficient resources, she must recharge the star diamond, and a 50% discount is particularly important. Standing in the open farm, Jiang Wanning worked hard to calm down. She needs to plan carefully. To survive in the apocalypse, the primary material is food. She needs to reserve food for 10 or even decades in order to survive in the apocalypse. There are 2 ways to obtain food in Penguin Farm. The first is to plant and wait for time to harvest, and the other is to steal food from other people. Gold coins and star diamonds cannot directly purchase food, they can only buy seeds. Although seeds can also be considered food, their exorbitant prices make it better to buy them in the real world with the money spent on them. Of course, star diamond can purchase fertilizers to shorten the plant growth cycle. As long as there is enough fertilizer, it can even produce grain in 1 minute. This is also Jiang Wanning's main route in the future, but it will cost real money and silver. Jiang Wanning needs to plan carefully. Stealing vegetables has no cost, but the problem is that almost the vast majority of players have already left the game, and their farm only has the last crop, which cannot be stolen repeatedly. Jiang Wanning thought for a while, feeling a headache. This is even more difficult than the last math calculation question in the middle school entrance exam. Forget it, just put it into practice. She wants to test the truth. Jiang Wanning walked towards the crops. In this game, each player can cultivate up to 30 pieces of land, which is about the size of 1 acre. The land is divided into ordinary, red soil, black soil, and gold soil according to soil quality. The higher the level, the more crops can be planted. Jiang Wanning has 24 red soil plots and ranks bottom in the friend ranking. She quickly harvested all the wheat she planted, about 500 pounds. This little food may not be a big deal for modern people, but for Jiang Wanning, who has experienced the end of the world, it is definitely a huge wealth. You should know that after the apocalypse, 1 pound of wheat can be exchanged for a small car. But for Jiang Wanning, this amount of grain is far from enough. She grabbed a sickle, carried a cloth bag on her back, and charged confidently into her gaming friend's farm. Embarking on a joyful journey of stealing vegetables. The first one harvested 200 kilograms of soybeans, the second one harvested 300 kilograms of corn. 1 hour later, she cleared the farms of 108 friends and harvested 20,000 to 30,000 kilograms of grain. Jiang Wanning put all the grain into the warehouse and sat down under the granary, exhausted and panting, with the corners of her mouth involuntarily rising. If these grains are not processed and consumed, they will be enough for her to eat for decades. Just as Jiang Wanning was considering what to do next, a rapid and malicious knocking came to her mind. "Are you deaf, Jiang Wanning? If you don't open the door, I'll saw it open. My dear brother, are you so eager? Today, they took my house." Jiang Wanning trembled her lips and muttered in her mouth. Chapter 2. Jiang family visits home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This older brother, who is 3 years older than her, has been bullying her since childhood. Not only did she steal everything from her, but she also resorted to physical violence. At the age of 8, Jiang Wanning was almost strangled to death by him. After the apocalypse, he also dragged Jiang Wanning out to share food with his neighbors. Apart from Jiang Haoqiang, Jiang Wanning's father and grandmother have never given her any care, at most making her barely survive. Jiang Wanning even suspected that she was biological to this family. After organizing her thoughts for a moment, Jiang Wanning withdrew from the game and returned to reality. She remembers that the Jiang family moved out to take away the house left for her by her grandfather. In the end, Jiang Wanning could only hand over the house and move back to live with her father. It was because of this that her family had the opportunity to steal all her supplies after the end of the world came. "Open the door. I see your skin is itching again." The shouting outside the door became increasingly urgent, occasionally accompanied by the sound of Jiang Haoqiang kicking the door. But as soon as he kicked twice, he was stopped by his wife Zhao Wenqian. "Jiang Haoqiang, you're crazy. From now on, it's our family. If we kick the door and break it, we'll have to spend money repairing it." "Humph, this money needs to be paid by Jiang Wanning." Just as the Jiang family was chattering, the door opened from inside. "Okay, you damn girl, you're not smoking, are you?" After seeing Jiang Wanning, Jiang Haoqiang was furious and raised his palm to hit her. "Strike, there's a way to hit this, it's better to hit me severely." Jiang Wanning pointed to her face with one finger and dialed the demon spirits with her phone in the other hand. Seeing that she had actually dialed the phone, Zhao Wenqian quickly stopped Jiang Haoqiang. As long as Jiang Haoqiang violates the law, he will leave a record of the case. At that time, her children will not want to take the civil service exam, and their lifelong future will be over. "Jiang Wanning, you little brat, did you know that reporting to the police would ruin your brother and nephew?" Jiang Wanning's grandmother, Han Yulan, cursed loudly. "Why, now you know you're afraid." Jiang Wanning replied angrily. The whole family's face was slightly stunned. "Isn't Jiang Wanning a soft persimmon? When did your attitude become so tough?" In her previous life, Jiang Wanning was weak because she remembered this familial bond. However, when she was mercilessly thrown away, she completely understood that she treated the Jiang family as family, but the other party did not treat her as family. Since that's the case, why give them face? After a moment of silence, Jiang Wanning's father pushed his glasses and said with a heavy expression, "Ning, the situation is like this. The house we share only has 3 bedrooms, and your nephew has grown up and can't always sleep with your grandmother. After discussion, we have unanimously decided to give this house to your elder brother, and you can continue to live with us on the first floor. Discuss. As a party involved, why doesn't Jiang Wanning know? That's your decision, it's nothing to do with me. I live here quite well and don't want to live with you." Jiang Wanning has a resolute attitude. "Jiang Wanning, what's your attitude? We're not discussing with you, we're notifying you." Zhao Wenqian instructed the way with ease. "Ning, this is what's wrong with you. You will get married sooner or later, and it's useless to keep a house. But your brother has been married for so long and doesn't have his own house yet." Jiang Xingping showed a senior attitude. Jiang Wanning sneered and said, "When my hometown was demolished, we divided 2 houses for each family, but you insisted on using 2 houses to exchange for one in the city center. Now that you've encountered a problem, you're thinking of taking the one my grandfather left for me. Isn't that to make it easier for your nephew to go to school? That's a problem between you, it's none of my business." Jiang Wanning holds her hands, she won't show any mercy to anyone. "You're a white-eyed wolf, eating our Jiang family's flowers and not even giving us a house. I won't leave today." Han Yulan made a trip to the sofa, using the standard touch porcelain technique. "I have calculated that your Jiang family spent an extra 10,000 yuan raising me. I earned my college tuition part-time, and after graduation, I gave you at least 200,000 yuan. So, don't mention any nurturing kindness to me. You can stay, but this is a crime of embezzlement. I will report to the police and arrest you." Han Yulan didn't turn her head and ignored Jiang Wanning's words. She is almost 70 years old and not afraid of being caught. "If you have a case, your great-grandson will still be implicated." Jiang Wanning gave a faint smile. Upon hearing these words, Han Yulan suddenly jumped up, her teeth itching with hatred. "Jiang Wanning, if you don't hand over the house, I'll divorce your brother and make him single for the rest of his life." Zhao Wenqian pointed fiercely at her and said, "Wife, you can't divorce me." Jiang Haoqiang held onto Zhao Wenqian's arm like a pug and begged. "Does it have anything to do with me whether he plays singles or not?" Jiang Wanning smiled lightly and put on a posture of not letting in any oil or salt. "Anyway, her name is written on the property certificate, as long as she doesn't let go, no one will want to take the house. Jiang Wanning, since you don't want oil and salt, let's calculate carefully. This house was left by your grandfather to your mother, and I will be the first in line to inherit it after your mother's death." Jiang Xingping said with a gloomy face. In the previous life, it was precisely because of his words that Jiang Wanning completely fell. Now she is very clear-headed, so she won't be deceived. "You're talking about statutory inheritance, but my grandfather left a will and gave me the house. Testament inheritance takes priority over statutory inheritance." Suppressing her with the law, really thinking she doesn't understand anything. Jiang Xingping's angry old face turned red and he couldn't say a word. Seeing that neither softness nor hardness had any effect, Jiang Haoqiang could only show his mischievous and rogue spirit. "Then I'll splash dog blood at your doorstep every day, making it impossible for you to live a normal life." His threat can be understood by Jiang Wanning as a dog barking in a fit of anger. Splashing dog blood is also a criminal act, and Jiang Wanning can report it to the police. Suddenly, she had a flash of inspiration. Instead of arguing endlessly with this family, it was better to make good use of them. 2 million, the house belongs to you. Jiang Wanning said confidently. According to the current market situation, her house is worth at least 3 million yuan. The reason why she only wants 2 million is because she knows that the Jiang family only has 2 million, and they can't take out any more. If it is sold to someone else through an intermediary, it is difficult to complete the process within a month and she will not receive the full house payment. What? Are you asking us for 2 million? You're crazy. Jiang Haoqiang's hair exploded in an instant. It's better to take his life than his money. I just called the agent and asked, this house is worth 3 million yuan. If you don't buy it, I'll hang up with the agent immediately. Jiang Wanning took out her phone and dialed the intermediary number. Hello, madam, may I ask if there is anything I can help with? The intermediary's voice came from the other end of the phone. I have a 120 square meter house in the central flower garden and I want to sell it. How much can I sell it for? It can sell for about 3 million yuan. I'll go see you now. The voice of the intermediary appeared somewhat excited. She can get tens of thousands of agency fees for a $3 million order. Don't hang up, we'll buy it. Zhao Wenxian said in a flustered tone. Chapter 3. Crazy Money Making. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The bastard has taken the bait. Jiang Wanning's lips curved into an indescribable smile, and she said to the other end of the phone, I'm sorry, my house has already been sold. After cutting off the phone, Jiang Wanning reached out and said, 2 million, take the money. Zhao Wenxian forced out an ugly smile with a taut face and said, Wanning, you also know that your brother and I haven't saved money in these years. Can we slow down? That's your business. If you don't give me the full amount, I'll sell it to someone else immediately. For someone like Jiang Wanning who insists on being shameless, there is no need for her to be implicated. Zhao Wenxian's teeth itched with hatred and gave her precious son a wink. At the age of only 6, Jiang Ziyu grabbed Jiang Wanning's thigh and scratched and kicked her, cursing, you bad woman, you've taken all my money. Like father, like son. Being unreasonable at a young age. Jiang Wanning is not used to this kind of bare child. She kicked Jiang Ziyu down on the sofa and said mercilessly, you're so good at hitting people at such a young age. When you grow up, don't you want to step on the sewing machine? I'll help you take good care of it. You dare to hit my son. Zhao Wenxian was extremely angry. Didn't he have long eyes? It was he who moved his hand first. This is not a society where everyone has reason. Jiang Wanning looked impatient. I don't have the time to fool around with you guys here. If you buy, pay for it. If you don't buy, get lost. The Jiang family was suppressed by her aura. Is this still the easily pinchable Jiang Wanning? Why is it like eating a powder keg? Zhao Wenxian was so angry that she almost bit her back teeth, but in order to get the house, she could only nod and respond, okay, we'll pay. Jiang Haoqiang leaned into Jiang Wenxian's ear and whispered, our family only has 500,000, how can we have 2 million? Didn't your dad still have 1 million in his hands? That's a difference of 500,000. You're stupid, you still have 500,000 coffins left. Zhao Wenxian pinched Jiang Haoqiang's soft flesh and whispered. Yeah, how could I forget about this? My wife was thoughtful. Jiang Haoqiang raised his thumb and nodded repeatedly. As long as they can get the house, they actually don't care about it. Zhao Wenxian walked up to Jiang Xing's plane with a smile on her face and said, Dad, when I got married to your son, we agreed to buy a house. You can get this money. Jiang Xingping frowned and said with difficulty, but I only have 1 million in my hand. 1 million yuan is fine, Dad, transfer it. Jiang Haoqiang sent the edited bank card number to Jiang Xingping's phone. In less than a minute, 1 million yuan was received, and Jiang Haoqiang almost grinned up to the sky. Zhao Wenxian walked towards Han Yulan again, and the old woman instinctively gripped her wallet, trembling and asking, son-daughter.in.law, what are you doing? Grandma, Haoqiang and I only have 500,000 yuan in our hands, and with the 1 million yuan given by Dad, there's still 500,000 yuan left. Didn't you save 500,000 yuan? It's just enough to buy this house. That's my coffin book. Han Yulan said with a mournful expression. Haoqiang and I are here to provide you with retirement. Don't worry, besides, since you died that day, this money is not Haoqiang's, so it's better to give it sooner or later. Why bother making the whole family unhappy? Zhao Wenqian was aggressively pushing each other. Jiang Wanning held her hands and watched the play. It's not until the end of the world that dogs start biting dogs, and it will definitely be even more exciting when the end of the world comes. Thinking of the free play, Jiang Wanning couldn't wait a bit. With Zhao Wenqian's "Bring It to You," Han Yulan was completely defeated. I have 2 million in my hands, sign the contract. Zhao Wenqian took out the already prepared house transfer contract. She originally intended to purchase it for 0 yuan, but now she can only fill in 2 million yuan in the amount column. Transfer the money. Jiang Wanning will not give the other party a chance to cheat, and will never sign without giving Qian Jian. Zhao Wenqian gritted her teeth and transferred the money, as if she had suffered a serious illness. After receiving the money, Jiang Wanning felt much more at ease in her heart. These money are enough for her to hoard enough supplies. In less than 5 minutes, the two signed the contract. Now this house belongs to me, hurry up and leave. Dad, don't let her live on the first floor. Zhao Wenqian added that she clearly wanted Jiang Wanning to sleep on the streets. Sorry, it will take at least a month to complete the entire buying and selling process. Before that, this is still my home. Jiang Wanning spread her hands and said. Humph, I'll let you stay for another month. Zhao Wenqian left in anger. Stay for another month. When the end of the world comes, the law will become invalid, and the contract will be just a piece of scrap paper. Jiang Wanning will not hand over the house. This 2 million is considered as the interest that Jiang Wanning collected in advance at the Jiang family. After the Jiang family left, Jiang Wanning quickly calmed down. She needs to check and calculate the assets in her hand. Over the years, she has been frugal and saved up 1 million, plus this 2 million, a total of 3 million, to store enough food, but she also needs a safe house to resist the end of the world. She picked up her phone and dialed a well-known international security company, but the result was unsatisfactory. To build a truly safe house, it would cost hundreds of millions, even a more ordinary one would cost tens of millions. Sure enough, they never pit the money of the poor. Just thinking about it, why build a safe house without a small goal at home, 100 million. Protecting your unfinished 5 blessings. This is the same as using a 6-digit bank card to protect a 2-digit deposit. With Jiang Wanning's current strength, it is almost impossible to build a safe house in reality. Fortunately, she was able to give it a try in the game and remembered that she could buy a house in Penguin Farm. In the previous life, when the apocalypse came, the wooden house that was slightly larger than the dog's nest in her game appeared out of thin air in the living room. Later, it was burned as firewood by the Jiang family. If she buys a steel house several tens of centimeters thick, wouldn't she be able to endure for eternity? Jiang Wanning did not immediately enter the game, she wanted to seize the opportunity to get all the money she could get. Although the house has been sold, she still has a property certificate that can be used as collateral. As long as she can get the money, she doesn't care about the consequences. After the end of the world, all debts are written off in one stroke. After arriving at the bank, Jiang Wanning went directly to the loan window on the 2nd floor. She placed the property certificate in front of the staff and asked, "How much money can I borrow from this house?" The staff quickly evaluated and ultimately agreed to lend her 2 million yuan. Jiang Wanning is quite satisfied with this amount, as she already has a whopping 5 million. Jiang Wanning instantly felt that her bank card had become heavy. After leaving the bank, 2 men with eerie movements in sunglasses greeted him. Jiang Wanning instinctively took a few steps back and was ready to shout at any time. After receiving 9 years of compulsory education, she could tell at a glance that the other person was not a good person. "Miss, have you been short of money lately? We can provide sufficient cash and it will arrive in 1 second." The man in sunglasses revealed a mouthful of white teeth. Those who lend at high interest rates. Jiang Wanning hooked her lips. Didn't the other person hit the muzzle? Can she not accept the money given for free? Chapter 4. Shameless Best Friend. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Jiang Wanning carefully looked at the man with sunglasses and shook her head, saying, "No, I heard from my friend that there is a handling fee for lending high-interest loans. Even if I am very short of money, I don't care if you borrow it." She didn't speak well, but she deliberately put on a look of great need. This makes the sunglasses man's heart race. He will never let high-quality customers like Jiang Wanning run away. "Girl, it's easy to say that the handling fee is 30% for everyone else, but only 20% for you." The man in sunglasses smiled innocently. Jiang Wanning didn't believe he would give her a discount, it was just the simplest language. The other party could even say that they would charge 40% for someone else and 20% for her. In short, if she wants to borrow 1 million yuan, she can only get 800,000 yuan and also have to pay high interest. Once a person gets into high-interest loans, their life is considered over and it is difficult to have a chance to turn things around. But Jiang Wanning is different. She doesn't care how much money she needs to pay back, she can get the money first. "Okay, but you have to increase the limit for me." Jiang Wanning nodded reluctantly. "How much do you want?" the man in sunglasses asked. Jiang Wanning extended 2 fingers and read a true scripture, "I want 2 million. "What? 2 million? The man in sunglasses was startled. He didn't expect a little girl to dare to speak up like a lion. Such a high amount requires collateral. "Yes, I have a house in the city center worth 3 million yuan. Jiang Wanning once again moved out her house that was sold and mortgaged. She will eat everyone in this house. She was curious about how these people would react when they found out the truth. But they don't seem to have a chance to know the truth, who still cares about a house after the end of the world. "Little girl, do you think I'm a fool? Your house has already been mortgaged to the bank." The man in sunglasses is a bit angry. "Uncle, as long as you don't tell me, who will know? This order is enough for you to earn 600,000. If I really can't make it, you can run away." Jiang Wanning curled her lips, revealing an intriguing smile. 1 million. I have to charge a 1 million handling fee for this order. After thinking for a moment, the man in sunglasses nodded. Deal. Whenever Jiang Wanning hesitates for a second, it is disrespectful to those 2 million. "Biao Zi, call the manager." The man in sunglasses said to the man next to him. After a moment, the person hung up the phone and walked back, whispering in the sunglasses man's ear, "Tiger, it's done, but the manager wants a 200,000 yuan kickback." The man in sunglasses nodded in agreement and quickly drew up an IOU. "Little girl, according to the process, we need information about your family," said the sunglasses man coldly. Using the safety of family members to threaten borrowers is also a common tactic used by high-interest loan organizations. "I understand." Jiang Wan exuded an expression of understanding. "My family lives in room 101, Unit 1, Building 8, Guangming Community. My father works as a security guard in the community, working day shifts on odd-numbered days and night shifts on even-numbered days. During night shifts, he likes to sleep at the guard booth. I retired and stayed at home. Every night at 8 o'clock, I go to the park to do square dancing, which is the only way for her to go home." Jiang Wanning drew a sketch of the layout of the community. "My brother and sister in law are doing e-commerce and have rented a studio in the community. It's in this building and we go home around 9 p.m. every night on this small path. My nephew is studying at a pig kindergarten, named Jiang Ziyu. You call him by his name at the school gate, give him another piece of candy, and he will come with you. Enough, we're just going through the process. Anyway, you don't want to pay it back, there's no need to be so careful." The man in sunglasses is somewhat speechless. Other clients are covering up this information, and Jiang Wanning is shaking out all the things that should be said and not said, hoping that the sunglasses man will take care of her home. What Jiang Wanning wanted to say was forcibly interrupted. It's very unpleasant. After signing, within a minute, Jiang Wanning's bank card had an additional 2 million. The speed of making money is comparable to that of North Burma. In less than a day, Jiang Wanning managed to get 6 million yuan, including the 1 million she had saved, which is a whopping 7 million yuan. If all the games were recharged, she would definitely be ranked as the top lady. Jiang Wanning didn't go home immediately, but went to the supermarket to buy a Boston lobster, an emperor crab, and a big cat mountain king durian. These foods that are usually reluctant to eat must be arranged. After returning home, Jiang Wanning prepared to search for the methods of bolong and emperor crab on Douyin short videos. To be honest, it's her first time eating it. Just as I clicked on the app, there was an advertisement for online lending. Jiang Wanning has to admit the terrifying nature of big data. As long as you search for words like loan on top, you will be bombarded with loan advertisements. Anyway, being idle is also being idle. It's better to gather more wool. She took the initiative to call the online lending platform. So, Douyin collected 50,000 yuan, Penguin collected 30,000 yuan, and 361 collected 20,000 yuan. In addition to these large platforms, there are also some small platforms, totaling over 200,000 yuan in size. Before she could hang up the last call, she heard someone knocking on the door outside. "Ning Ning, are you at home?" A crisp and sticky sound came. Her good friend Bai Weiwei. Jiang Wanning's face froze for a moment, and suddenly she understood something. In the previous life, after the end of the world, Jiang Wanning's boyfriend was unexpectedly trapped in Bai Weiwei's house. Even fools know that this dog man and woman must be getting together. When Jiang Wanning was abandoned by the Jiang family, it was this pair of dog men and women who successfully cut off one of her thighs. Jiang Wanning didn't understand until she died when this dog man and woman got together. She has never introduced the two to each other. Jiang Wanning finally remembered that tonight, Bai Weiwei borrowed the reason for choosing clothes and went to the penguin account of the scumbag man. "Ning Ning, I'm Vivi." The knocking on the door rang out again. Jiang Wanning went to the kitchen and brought a kitchen knife, wanting to chop off Bai Weiwei. She is the kind of person who takes revenge overnight. But if she does this, she will also be caught and locked up in a small black room when the end falls. To teach a slut a lesson, it's not worth getting yourself involved. It's better to teach her a little lesson after the end of the world comes. After putting down the kitchen knife, Jiang Wanning opened the door and saw that Bai Weiwei was wearing a khaki short down jacket on her upper body and a black silk on her lower body, which looked a bit out of place. "Ning Ning, can you ask your boyfriend to help me see which of these two down jackets looks good?" Bai Weiwei sent 2 photos to Jiang Wanning's phone. One is a khaki down jacket with black silk, and the other is a black down jacket with white silk. Damn it, this is not asking the scumbag to help her choose a down jacket. It's obvious that the scumbag should just look at the stockings. "My boyfriend helped you choose clothes." Jiang Wanning furrowed her brow. Although she really wants a bitch to mate with a dog as soon as possible, she also wants to know why a bitch likes dogs. "Oh, Ning Ning, don't think too much. I just think your boyfriend has good clothing, and if he can choose you as his girlfriend, he definitely has no discerning taste." Bai Weiwei spoke softly and softly. Without 10 years of tea art, one cannot cook this bowl of Westlake Longjing. Chapter 5. Send you to hot search. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Wanning felt a bit degraded. She knows this is tea art, but she still loves to listen to it. No wonder men like green tea. Who wouldn't want to be yelled at by older brothers? In the previous life, it was precisely because of Bai Weiwei's words that she willingly sent the photo to her boyfriend. Jiang Wanning had a good idea in her mind that she could use these 2 photos to add more penguin friends and steal more vegetables from the game. Isn't she able to get enough food without charging a penny? After opening the Penguin app, Jiang Wanning casually found a large group of 500 people, packaged and sent 2 photos with text. Brothers, which down jacket do you think looks better? This is a group of homeowners, mostly married men who dare not make open comments. After a moment, the group was filled with deep frying pans and overwhelming curses. Smiling. My younger sister's down jacket looks really nice, but her stockings are a bit extra. Are you waiting for a man? Blossoming wealth and prosperity. It's shameless to stink. Can you go out and indulge in the wild men on the street? There are so many wild men on the street. Beautiful sunset. Isn't this by Weiwei, the tenant of our building? No wonder she came out alone to rent a house. It turned out she was soliciting customers. She's making a lot of money, isn't she? Pooh. Jiang Wanning had long anticipated this and continued to send messages without hesitation. Add me 5 yuan as a friend and comment on more photos. Don't be fooled by the silence of the men in the group, they are all diving silently. How could they miss the opportunity for private conversation? After a moment, Jiang Wanning received dozens of days of friend applications, and in order to save time, she set them to automatically pass. Ning Ning, look at it. There's a commotion among the homeowners, it seems like a shameless woman posted a private photo. This society really has everyone. Bai Weiwei put on a melon-eating appearance. Is that right? Jiang Wanning casually forwarded several more groups, all of which were large groups of 500 people. She wanted to add more friends in the shortest possible time. Well, really, there seems to be a photo on it, I'll find it for you. Bai Weiwei frantically flipped through the news, and when she saw the photo, her face turned green. The slut in her mouth is herself. Ning Ning, how did you post my photos in the group? Bai Weiwei asked angrily. Is that right? Let me take a look. Jiang Wan showed an innocent expression and pretended to look up at the news. Oh my hand slipped. I want to send it to Su Yang. Vivi, you won't be angry about my small mistake this time, will you? Jiang Wanning said with a strange tone. This tone is also from an old yin-yang person. How could I not be angry? You've ruined my reputation. Bai Weiwei stomped her feet in anger. She wanted to argue with Jiang Wanning, but she couldn't bear it. Before seducing her boyfriend and obtaining this house, Bai Weiwei will not give up. Vivi, you are my only friend. You won't ignore me because of this, will you? Jiang Wanning put on a pitiful look. She's really addicted to acting. The feeling of knowing what the other person is thinking but intentionally accompanying her in acting is really satisfying. Bai Weiwei suppressed her anger and squeezed out a smile from Bai Lian, saying, it's not possible either. It was originally me who begged you to handle things. By the way, did your boyfriend say that picture looks good? Jiang Wanning shook her head and said, he hasn't replied. Maybe he's busy. How about this? I'll push him to you and you can talk to him later. If it's not easy to choose photos, you can video chat with him. Is that okay? I'll add your boyfriend, won't you be angry? Bai Weiwei asked tentatively. Jiang Wan didn't even think about it before replying, of course not. We are the best friends. If he can't satisfy you, I'll kick him immediately. She just wants this dog man and woman to get together as soon as possible, so that the dog man can be trapped in Bai Weiwei's rental room and only have fun after the end of the world. To be honest, Jiang Wanning even wants the end of the world to come soon. She can't wait to see the people who once harmed her hiccup in the painful struggle. Bai Weiwei did not immediately add Su Yang as a friend, she wanted to maintain basic composure in front of Jiang Wanning. By the way, Ning Ning, I just heard you call the online lending platform. Did you encounter any difficulties? Bai Weiwei asked with a hypocritical tone. She knew Jiang Wanning's situation like the back of her hand, and even guessed with her toes that it was the pressure from the Jiang family. Bai Weiwei happened to take this opportunity to win Jiang Wanning's favor and take the opportunity to get her house over. Hey, don't mention it. My nephew wants to enroll in a tutoring class for right brain development, which costs 200,000 yuan. But my brother doesn't have the money, so they asked me for it. Jiang Wanning pinched her brow and was extremely annoyed. Bai Weiwei secretly curled her lips and said, Weiwei, your family is a bottomless pit. They want to drain your blood. I think they will ask you for this house sooner or later. A house? Absolutely not, this is what my grandfather left for me. How can I give it to them? Jiang Wanning said angrily. I'm afraid they'll cry, make a fuss, and hang themselves. We girls can't compete with them, but I have a good idea. Bai Weiwei raised her eyebrows and put on the appearance of a savior. What's the solution? Can you tell me quickly? Jiang Wanning asked eagerly. Why don't you transfer the house to my name? Why do they still want it? Bai Weiwei smiled innocently. That's a good idea, but you have to buy it with money. Jiang Wanning replied. Bai Weiwei wants her room, she wants Bai Weiwei's money, there's nothing wrong with it. No problem, I will give you all the 200,000 I have saved over the years. Anyway, we are sisters, and I won't really want your house. No, 200,000 is too little, you have to give me 1 million. Jiang Wanning answered straightforwardly. She has accompanied Bai Weiwei in such a long play, doesn't it cost more than 1 million yuan? Her time is very valuable. If you don't have it, then forget it. Bai Weiwei was so conflicted that she could only grit her teeth and agree in the end. Okay, I need my brother's 800,000 yuan to get married. Wait a moment, I'll go out and make a phone call. Bai Weiwei explained the situation once, and her brother immediately agreed, but asked Bai Weiwei to write his name on the property certificate. In no time, Bai Weiwei returned with a smile and drafted the contract. Jiang Wanning didn't even look at it and signed directly. Anyway, the house has been sold by her n times, and it's not a bad time. In less than 5 minutes, 1 million will be credited. Jiang Wanning's back teeth are almost laughing. Not only because of making money, but also because of playing with little Bailian. It's really satisfying to control evil with evil. Don't try. Try to get addicted. Ning Ning, I'm a bit cold, I'll go back first. Bai Weiwei can't wait to go back and chat with Su Yonghua. Looking at her down jacket, Jiang Wanning felt no discomfort at all. What if she can't freeze to death? Vivi, I forgot to tell you. Su Yang is allergic to down jackets, so you'd better throw away all the down jackets at home. Jiang Wanning kindly reminded. Chapter 6. The vegetable on the farm was stolen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bai Weiwei did not respond to Jiang Wanning's words, but took concrete action. Wearing a down jacket on her body is bulky and unsightly, completely unable to show off her attractive figure. Although it has entered winter now, her rental room has underfloor heating, and the indoor temperature is above 20 degrees Celsius all year round, so there is no need to wear a down jacket. Bai Weiwei wants to throw away all her down jackets and never cause any inconvenience to Su Yang. She wears stockings every day, changes 3 times a day, and doesn't repeat them for 10 days. She doesn't believe Su Yang can control it. After seeing off Bai Weiwei, Jiang Wanning sneaked into the kitchen, spending thousands of dollars on seafood that couldn't be wasted. After searching for a large number of videos online, Jiang Wanning still decided to steam. Precious ingredients often only require the simplest cooking methods. In less than 20 minutes, the pot wafted out the unique aroma of seafood. Jiang Wanning couldn't wait to open the shell of the imperial crab, which was filled with crab roe. I originally wanted to dig and eat with a spoon, but the crab roe was too big. She decided to put on disposable gloves and grab it directly. A big bite of crab roe bites into the mouth, with a strong grainy texture and a fragrant taste filling the lips and teeth. This is too delicious. Jiang Wanning had a satisfied expression on her face. After eating the crab roe, Jiang Wanning peeled off the entire lobster from head to toe. The shrimp meat was longer than her forearm, and she dipped it in the prepared sesame oil sauce and stuffed it into her mouth. She chewed it gently, and the lobster meat broke through the outer film, bouncing out like a rubber band. Delicious. Jiang Wanning extended her thumb and ate in large gulps. In less than 10 minutes, the entire lobster was wiped out by her, and even the sauce was licked clean by her. Although we have money, we cannot waste it. Finally, there is the fresh and delicious emperor crab meat, the crab claw meat larger than her palm, full of chewiness, and 5 times the protein of beef. After showcasing 2 oversized seafood dishes, Jiang Wanning let out a deep belch. It turns out that eating seafood can really fill you up. After eating and drinking enough, you have to work. Jiang Wanning took out her phone and the Penguin app showed 99+. She clicked in and the screen was full of messages, greeted by all sorts of sleazy men. Jiang Wanning glanced casually and was shocked by her 3 views. Even the second uncle next door to her came to ask for photos. Men are teenagers until they die, that's absolutely right. Jiang Wanning doesn't care about the chat content, she only focuses on how many friends she has added. Good guy, a whole 1,500 people. No, 1,500 people is the limit for regular accounts, but not for super VIPs. Jiang Wanning opened the recharge interface, which requires an annual card worth 120 yuan and a monthly card worth 20 yuan. Last year's card was more cost-effective, but Jiang Wanning only needed 1 month's membership and decisively bought a monthly card. Spending thousands of yuan to buy emperor crab to eat doesn't hurt her, but the more she thinks about the 20 yuan monthly card, the more she feels about it. No, we have to earn it back. She casually clicked on a few messages, and these sleazy men all sent her red envelopes. 1 red envelope costs 5 yuan, and 4 is 20 yuan. Collecting 4 is collecting, and collecting 400 is also collecting. Jiang Wanning decided to keep all 2,000 red envelopes in her bag. I feel comfortable now. It's just that the fingertips hurt a bit. Looking at the 7-digit balance in her bank card, Jiang Wanning felt a sense of security that she had never experienced before. With these years, she can do a good job in the game. After turning on the computer, Jiang Wanning quickly entered the game. After a day, the crops she planted have matured and can be harvested with just 1 click. I wipe it. Why is it much less? Jiang Wanning opened the information panel and it showed that the crops had been stolen by the Bold Witch. This Bold Witch is a distant grandmother of Jiang Wanning's family. When she was young, she served as the village women's director and liked to shout around. In addition, her husband is the village chief, making her even more crazy. Her grandson used to bully people when he was a child. Once, he offended Jiang Wanning and was beaten up with a bruised nose and face. This Bold Witch shamelessly slapped her. Finally, Jiang Wanning's father also brought her to apologize. Now think about it, really it was a bird pecking and twisting its buttocks. It opened its eyes. Later, when the village was demolished, she and Jiang Wanning shared the same building, and she couldn't even stick the dog skin ointment. In the end of the world, the Bold Witch used her prestige in the family to steal a lot of food from the Jiang family, and was also one of the murderers who killed Jiang Wanning. If it weren't for a lifetime of hard work, Jiang Wanning would have been bullied by her for a lifetime. Stealing vegetables, right? Auntie, let me play some new tricks for you. Jiang Wanning remembers that in the previous life, the Bold Witch had a lot of food in her family, which turned out to be the reason why she insisted on harvesting vegetables every day. But in this life, she has offended Jiang Wanning, don't think it's so comfortable. Jiang Wanning clicked on the recharge page and directly recharged 1 million yuan. Including a 50% discount, she exchanged a total of 2 million diamonds, which is enough for her to do a lot of things. A 10,000 star drill with an electric rod. Bought before the discount, this was actually 10,000 yuan, and even now it costs Jiang Wanning 5,000 yuan. The function of an electric baton is to deal with hunting dogs and increase the success rate of stealing vegetables, which can be increased to approximately 100%. This is not just a little bit stronger than a wooden stick that can be purchased with game currency. Penguin Games make it clear to play with Krypton. With the electric baton, Jiang Wanning still feels that it's not enough. Her goal is not to steal vegetables, but to steal the warehouse of the bold witch. There is only one way to steal someone else's warehouse, and that is to spend 100,000 diamonds to buy a chainsaw. Since the game was launched, few people have purchased chainsaws in total. Who would spend 100,000 yuan to steal virtual food from the game? Jiang Wanning gritted her teeth and bought it. Can you still get used to the bold witch after being reborn? Jiang Wanning, holding an electric baton in her right hand and a chainsaw in her left hand, walked angrily towards the estate of the bold witch. Before entering, Jiang Wanning saw the densely packed durian trees in the yard. Good guy, the bold witch has already raised the land to the highest level, and can plant anything except for plants that earn money. Jiang Wanning is somewhat envious. This may take several years. Of course, Penguin has long given a green channel. As long as there is enough money to increase the level, Jiang Wanning can catch up with the old witch in minutes. Looking at the golden durian on the tree, Jiang Wanning drooled uncontrollably. She eats this expensive fruit at most twice a year. Fortunately, the apocalypse is coming, and there are as many durians as needed in the game. She wants to grill a whole durian and eat it, and the whole building will be filled with the aroma of roasted durian. Neighbors who can't eat a meal in 3 days will be starving. After wiping the saliva from the corners of her mouth, Jiang Wanning prepared to climb the courtyard wall. Crossing the wall and entering is a necessary way to steal vegetables, but on second thought, she seems to have an electric saw in her hand. Can't she just saw open the door? Buzz. Jiang Wanning gently sawed open the door lock with a chainsaw and walked in with dignity. She laid the cloth bag on the ground, ready to harvest the durian. At that moment, a black fierce dog rushed towards her. Chapter 7. Stockpiling of Materials. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Wanning frowned lightly. A fierce dog. Rowena. Don't you tie the rope yet? This is not for the purpose of guarding the house, it is clear that they are rushing to bite people. As far as Jiang Wanning knows, this kind of fierce dog cannot be exchanged for free game currency, and it will cost at least 500 yuan. She didn't expect the old witch to scare her blood for growing vegetables. Great, then let her lose all her money. Jiang Wanning took out the electric baton and adjusted the voltage to maximum. This vicious dog seems to have not realized the seriousness of the matter yet, and pounced with open teeth and claws. 100,000 volts. After Jiang Wanning swung the electric baton, the vicious dog foolishly opened its mouth and bit it. At the moment when its mouth touched the electric rod, a strong electric current spread throughout its body, making a sizzling sound, and the air was filled with a burning smell. The vicious dog let out a scream and fell heavily to the ground, convulsing all over its body. For this kind of vicious dog, Jiang Wanning decided to perform physical transcendence on it. She pressed the electric baton against the dog's chest and kept pressing the switch. Zzz. The evil dog was emitting blue light, its body stopped twitching, and it could no longer die. Jiang Wanning looked at the electric baton in shock. In real life, only 20,000 volts of electric baton can be purchased, which can cause convulsions in dogs at most and is not fatal. And the electric baton in her hand can reach 100,000 volts, which is several times more powerful, and can be used as a handy weapon when the apocalypse comes. After the vicious dog was electrocuted, Jiang Wanning's ears became much cleaner. In order to avoid the risk of tree climbing and falling, Jiang Wanning chose to directly topple the tree. She's a bit of killing the chicken to get the eggs. Anyway, the tree doesn't belong to her own family. Just kill it, it's a big deal. In less than half an hour, 30 durian trees lay neatly on the ground, all of which were collected by Jiang Wanning. Transporting durians is not an easy task, as Jiang Wanning has moved them 5 times. Next, she set her gaze on the warehouse, and if nothing unexpected happened, there should be quite a few good things inside. Click. The warehouse gate was easily sawn open by Jiang Wanning, and the food inside poured out directly. Several groups, this must weigh tens of thousands of pounds, right? I didn't expect the old witch to save so many treasures. It seems that after the end of the world, the old demon's husband's family had accumulated tens of thousands of pounds of food, but she not only did not give half a pound to the big guy, but also robbed a lot of the Jiang family. In the end, she even took away one arm of Jiang Wanning. The thought of the old witch surviving in the afterlife for a long time made Jiang Wanning feel uncomfortable all over. Forget it, let's move everything out to avoid getting angry. It took about 10 more minutes for Jiang Wanning to successfully empty the old witch's warehouse without leaving any rice for her. If it weren't for the unlimited endurance and increased strength of the players in the game, Jiang Wanning wouldn't be able to move in a day. Looking at the empty warehouse, Jiang Wanning still felt something was wrong. Got it. The warehouse is made of wood, and after the end of the world, the old witch can get a lot of wood to start a fire and keep warm. This is not acceptable. Jiang Wanning sawed open the warehouse and moved all the wood, even the old witch's wooden house was not spared. After her robbery, the old witch was left with only an empty name, and the yard was even cleaner than Jiang Wanning's face. If it weren't for the game coins on the account not being snatched, Jiang Wanning wouldn't mind letting the old witch go bankrupt overnight. Returning to her own courtyard and looking at the warehouse filled with abundant grain, Jiang Wanning felt incredibly secure in her heart. As someone who has experienced the end of the world, she has already suffered from severe fear of food shortage. These tens of thousands of kilograms of grain are far from enough. Fortunately, she added nearly 2,000 friends. She wants to steal all the food from these people. This is a huge project. It is definitely impossible to rely solely on manual labor to carry, she needs a truck and a harvester. This rare equipment definitely requires star diamond payment, and Jiang Wanning has never clicked on this golden page. I just hope it's not too expensive. After all, a broken chainsaw costs 100,000 stars, and a truck is likely to cost millions. If that's the case, Jiang Wanning would rather rely on manpower to carry the burden than spend this unjustified money. Excited heart, trembling hands, poking shit yellow button. Truck 80,000 star diamonds. Harvester 120000 star diamonds. Jiang Wanning was completely stunned. A truck is not as expensive as a chainsaw. She finally understood that the prices of goods in the game were disproportionate to those in reality. It's not that the more expensive it is in reality, the more expensive it is in games. The products in the game are priced according to their rarity. Among them, ordinary products can be purchased with free game coins, and prices vary. Precious and above products can only be purchased with star diamonds. The price of precious goods is around 10,000 yuan, and the price of rare goods is around 100,000 yuan. The chainsaws, trucks, and harvesters purchased by Jiang Wanning are rare commodities, and the prices naturally do not differ much. This price Jiang Wanning can accept, 2 pieces of equipment can be easily obtained. Looking at the 2 huge objects in front of her, Jiang Wanning felt a bit confused. She can still try driving the truck, but the harvester is completely clueless. However, this game is really considerate, with a one-click harvest function that doesn't require her to operate at all. She can even operate 2 devices simultaneously through a remote control, with the harvester in front of the truck and the grain loaded directly onto the truck. With these 2 equipment, Jiang Wanning is ready to launch a massive attack on all sides. She doesn't need to use a chainsaw to open the door, she can simply drive the truck and at most damage the bumper without affecting driving. Jiang Wanning lay diagonally in the cab of the harvester, humming, "I have a little donkey," and began to work. She even wants to watch dramas in the game, but unfortunately, Penguin Farm doesn't have this service. Game companies don't want to drag players to watch dramas. Although this job is dull and boring, Jiang Wanning felt an indescribable joy as she watched tons of grain enter the warehouse. 2 hours later, all of my friends' food was harvested clean. Unfortunately, most of these people are gamers who have retired from the game, and the yield of crops grown is not high, and there is not much in the warehouse. She only stole over 300,000 yuan of grain, and with the help of the old witch, she only weighed less than 400,000 pounds. Enough for her to eat alone for 1,000 years. What if she can't live for 1,000 years? Isn't food meant to be wasted? It's quite worrying. Next, another question was placed in front of her. Originally, the warehouse could only hold around 100,000 pounds, and the rest could only be stacked in the yard. Jiang Wanning wanted to buy a few more warehouses and was once again shocked by this game. The first warehouse is free, and the second one will cost 200,000 diamonds. It's really a clear distinction between the kryptonites and the commoners. After the end of the world, these extra warehouses were just a pile of wood. Jiang Wanning didn't want to spend this money in vain. She would rather just pile them up like this. But placing so much food outside will definitely make others envious, and she will also become a target of public criticism after the end of the world comes. Jiang Wanning doesn't want to show off her wealth, the best way is not to be discovered. She bought a large piece of black cloth to cover the fence around the yard, avoiding direct visibility from outside. But this is still not safe, she is worried that the old witch will come back to steal vegetables. The best way for Jiang Wanning to keep the old witch away from her yard is to keep a dog. Keep a fierce dog. More is better. Chapter 8. The Most Loyal Dog. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dogs are little experts in guarding homes and courtyards. In this game, almost everyone has one hand. Jiang Wanning also raised a rhubarb. Although it is not as useful as a fierce dog, it has a high cost-performance ratio and can be purchased with free game coins. And rhubarb is very loyal, wagging her tail non-stop every time she sees Jiang Wanning. But Jiang Wanning wants to protect the outskirts of the yard and prevent strangers from approaching, and relying solely on rhubarb is far from enough. She decided to buy more fierce dogs. Clicking on the pet interface, Jiang Wanning takes a deep breath, just like the warehouse mode. The first dog is free to receive, the second one requires a star diamond, and most of the fierce dogs are rare commodities priced at around 100,000 yuan. When Jiang Wanning first saw this price, she refused in her heart. But on second thought, the fierce dog not only helped her guard the courtyard, but also became her most loyal thug after the end of the world. Now she has the resources to survive in the apocalypse, but she still lacks the ability to protect the resources. Pifu is innocent and harbors a guilty conscience. Even if she can build a safe house in the future, she cannot guarantee absolute safety. The more life-saving measures there are, the better. Moreover, dogs can also become the best playmates in the apocalypse. Anyway, she has enough food and is not afraid of not being able to afford a few dogs. Tibetan Mastiff 150000 star diamonds, bought. This guy stands one head taller than Jiang Wanning, and his broad tongue covers her entire face. The greeting style of the Tibetan Mastiff made Jiang Wanning a bit overwhelmed. It's not that Jiang Wanning is praising him, this guy really has a good match with the tiger. The value of these 150,000 flowers. One is not enough, another one. Jiang Wanning also thoughtfully named the two Tibetan Mastiffs. The first one she bought was called the He, and the second one she bought was Xiao He. She originally wanted to buy 6 Tibetan Mastiffs directly, but the next name is difficult to choose. Forget it, change the color. Alaskan Sled Dog. Jiang Wanning's gaze fixed on this big white dog. This kind of dog not only has high looks and intelligence, but also can pull sleds. After the end of the world, the whole world will be covered with heavy snow, making it impossible for people to travel. If there were a few sled dogs, wouldn't Jiang Wanning be able to go surfing? 120000 star diamonds, not expensive, not expensive. 2 more. The first one is called Dubai, and the second one is called Xiaobai. Jiang Wanning was worried about the lack of power for her 2 sled dogs and wanted to buy 2 more, but the names were really difficult to choose. Calling Zhongbai and Weibai doesn't sound good either. Jiang Wanning flipped down again and found a pair of playful eyes. Husky. 60,000 star diamonds. If you raise 2 little ones, then the end of the world won't be lonely, right? And Jiang Wanning heard that huskies can also pull sleds. 120000 diamonds, take it. The first one is called Daha, the second one is called Erha. Including her family's rhubarb, Jiang Wanning has already gathered enough of 7 dogs. She tied the dog outside, just enough to circle the yard. Even if the old witch doesn't want her life, she can't break in. After finishing these tasks, Jiang Wanning breathed a sigh of relief. The food problem has been temporarily resolved. She calmed down and pondered carefully on what supplies were needed after the end of the world. Food. Water. Safe house. Heating measures. Weapons. In order to avoid any omissions, Jiang Wanning made a list on paper. Food. Basic solution, can eat enough, but cannot eat well, water. Just about to solve, not a drop, safe house. Planned, still unclear, heating measures. Shortage of firewood, can be produced in large quantities, weapon. Electric baton and dog, not used for farting, entertainment. Self-entertainment, not considered happy, other. Think about it and list again. Jiang Wanning shrugged and realized that it was really difficult to live comfortably in the apocalypse. She still has too much supplies to prepare. At this moment, Jiang Wanning's phone rang in her ear, and she could only temporarily exit the game. After opening her eyes, Jiang Wanning realized that it was already daylight. She tossed and turned in the game all night, completely exhausted. The phone screen shows Jiang Family, number 2, which was called by her father. After answering the phone, Jiang Wanning heard a barrage of curses. Jiang Wanning, have you grown a brain? Why offend your 8th grandmother? Apologize immediately and don't call me Dad if you can't get her forgiveness. Jiang Wanning was about to speak when a beep sound came from the other end of the phone. No matter what he calls Dad, he doesn't call him. She's not rare yet. Jiang Wanning probably guessed what was going on. She stole the yard of the bold witch completely last night and even killed the Rottweiler she had bought for a large sum of money. It must be the old witch who went to her house to provoke and punish her. Jiang Xingping dared not offend the other party and could only ask her to apologize. Do it right. Jiang Wanning opened the Penguin app and found herself being crazily at by the old witch in the owner group. Old witch. Jiang Wanning, you little brat, dare to steal my family's food. If you have the ability, get out of here. Bomb. JPG owners who watched the excitement also replied. It's true that one knows the face but not the heart. A little girl who usually appears gentle and quiet should have done such a vulgar thing. Who would say that is not true? It's not the world's way to steal people's food. Is the family too poor to open the pot? I have some leftover mantou here. Here you are. Jiang Wanning couldn't stand these online comments and calmly replied. Everyone, if you haven't figured out the ins and outs of the situation, don't force yourself blindly. The internet is not a lawless place. Be careful, I'll sue you for defamation. At Jiang Wanning's words, those internet celebrities shut up one after another. They have been addicted to talking and dare not speak up when encountering tough and difficult things like Jiang Wanning. There are also those who are stubborn and refuse to scratch their way. My sister. Law has already said that if you steal her family's food, there can still be some falsehood. The wicked dare to report against you first. The speaker was a grandmother from Jiang Wanning's family, who was also a staunch lackey of the bold witch. Without saying a word, Jiang Wanning immediately brought out the bold witch. Old witch, tell them where I stole your food. If I can't explain clearly, I'll sue you for defamation. Seeing Jiang Wanning's tone stiff, the bold witch dared not conceal it. You stole my family's food in Penguin Farm and still want to deny it, can't you? Seeing this news, internet celebrities dare not fart a single fart. The two of them were in conflict in the game, resulting in a group of Japanese deer exploding. Little rabbit, not only did you steal all my food, but you also dug my tree. We can't finish this matter. Jiang Wanning could feel the roar of the bold witch through her phone screen, estimating that the other party was quite angry. This is an account that she spent 15 years managing, and after being tossed around by Jiang Wanning, she went straight back to before the liberation. But Jiang Wanning knew that what the bold witch was worried about was not these grains, but the Rottweiler she had spent real money on. Old witch, did you eat crazy dog meat today? How can you talk like a crazy dog? Upon hearing dog meat, the bold witch almost lost her breath and posted a 60-second long voice message in the group. For this crazy dog voice, Jiang Wanning was too lazy to click on it, and she continued. I remember, your dog spent 5,000 yuan, no wonder it's even more uncomfortable than dying a biological grandson. After speaking, Jiang Wanning deliberately at the Black Mountain Old Demon in the group, which is the old man of the Old Demon woman. Her 8th grandfather is a famous iron rooster. He only needs free cabbage leaves to buy a cabbage. If he knew that the bold witch spent 5,000 yuan to buy a dog in the game, would he commit domestic violence? As expected, after sending this message, the bold witch did not reply for a long time, probably enjoying the baptism of a whip. Chapter 9. Reverse greetings to scumbags. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the saying goes, one thing brings down another. Despite being arrogant, the bold witch does not hold a high status in the family. Trembling with fear at the sight of the Black Mountain Old Demon. Thinking of the majestic appearance of the bold witch in battle, Jiang Wanning was happier than buying another bottle after drinking a drink. She really wants to witness this scene with her own eyes. Suddenly, Jiang Wanning's spiritual light flashed. If she installed a pinhole camera in the hallway, wouldn't she be able to watch big shows every day after the end of the world? Isn't this better than watching TV dramas? Let's just fill up the entertainment category directly. Jiang Wanning quickly jotted down this idea and must not forget it. At this moment, Jiang family, number 1, called. Jiang Wanning, you really don't know what to do. You killed your 8th grandmother's dog. She's coming to our door now and asking our Jiang family to compensate. You must pay for this money. Han Yulan chattered incessantly. Why should I lose money? Jiang Wanning refused. If there is injustice, there is debt, and there is a master. If you kill the dog, you will have to compensate. Okay, let her come and ask me for it. Jiang Wanning is fearless. She only killed a dog in the game and is not suspected of any illegal activities. She is not afraid of the bold witch coming to collect debts. It must be the Black Mountain Demon who wants to get back this 5,000 yuan, but they dare not refund Penguin Company and only dare to bully honest people like Jiang Wanning. Sorry, she's not the same soft persimmon as before. When a person truly experiences death, they will have no fear. I'm looking for you, see what you can do. Your 8th grandmother has 2 sons and 4 grandsons, and she must skin you. Since you haven't apologized voluntarily, don't try to implicate us. From now on, you're not my granddaughter. Han Yulan said casually. She happened to take this opportunity to sever ties with Jiang Wanning and refused to let her live on the first floor. If it weren't for the fact that you couldn't choose this matter, do you think I would be willing to be your granddaughter? Don't put too much gold on your face, okay? Remember every word you said today, see you in debt. Jiang Wanning hung up the phone without mercy. Her previous life experience allowed her to fully see the faces of the Jiang family. She has no attachment to this family, only an indescribable hatred. If the Jiang family doesn't have any ulterior motives towards her from now on, perhaps she can still prevent the Jiang family from falling into trouble in the apocalypse. But if the Jiang family takes the initiative to provoke her, then I'm sorry, love who you are. Moreover, Jiang Wanning seriously suspects that she is not the Jiang family's biological runaway daughter at all. How could they give birth to such a beautiful girl with their crooked melons and cracked dates? She decided to take some time to do a DNA test and completely cut off the inherent obsession in her heart. As for Han Yulan's claim that the bold witch has 2 sons and 4 grandsons, Jiang Wanning didn't take it to heart at all. Before the end of the world, the law was sound, and she was not afraid of anyone. After the apocalypse, with complete equipment, anyone has to fear her. If you don't understand human language, you can talk to my Tibetan mastiff. In no time, there was a noisy knocking on the door outside. Open the door, little bastard, you have seed for me to come out. The voice of the old witch echoed through the entire corridor. Jiang Wanning's eardrums pricked, and her less sturdy door would sooner or later be smashed open. Smashing other people's doors in broad daylight really brings the rural thug's behavior to the city. Is Shu Li really a police officer who eats dry food? Jiang Wanning opened the door while recording with her phone. After seeing Jiang Wanning, the old witch grabbed her collar and said, "Little bastard, pay back." Jiang Wanning opened her dirty hands and couldn't help but say, "Come on, keep coming, I've recorded everything." "The son, go grab her phone and smash it." "I see if she dares to be proud," said the old witch arrogantly. She followed several men of all sizes behind her, and Jiang Niu took a fierce step forward, ready to grab his phone. "Police uncle, have you seen that? They can't help but break into houses and even hit people," Jiang Wanning said to her phone screen. She is not simply recording videos, but connecting with the local police station's live broadcast account, and every move of the old witch is clearly watched by the police. "Police officer, I didn't do anything. I'll come out of her house now." After seeing the police officer in the video, Jiang Niu raised his hands and honestly retreated. "Your behavior is suspected of illegal activities. Now come to the police station and surrender yourself." The police officer, who was broadcasting legal education, said sternly. The old witch was immediately frightened and her legs were weak, and she ran away with a stream of urine. Once she reaches her age, it may be difficult for her to survive and come out. And if there is a record, it will also affect the future prospects of future generations. She's just horizontal, not reckless. Police officer, her home is located at Unit 801, Building 8, Guangming Community. You can provide door-to-door service. Jiang Wanning's thoughtful explanation. Thank you for providing the information. Society needs you as a good comrade who dares to fight against evil forces. The law enforcement officers praised it greatly. After the old witch left, Jiang Wanning's ears became much cleaner. Coincidentally, there was another phone call at this time. It's from scumbag Su Yang. Jiang Wanning finally remembered that the two had originally scheduled to watch Titanic together at 8 o'clock this Saturday morning. But it's already 10 o'clock now, and Su Yang just called. As soon as Jiang Wanning answered the phone, she heard the accusation of being bossy and domineering from the other side. "What time is it for Jiang Wanning? You just woke up. Do you know that I waited for you at the cinema entrance for 2 hours? I didn't expect you to be such an undisciplined girl, it really disappointed me. I wipe it. Was bitten by a dog. Watching a movie at 8 o'clock, did you call back at 10 o'clock? And the two are still in a period of passionate love, as for getting so angry. There is only one possibility, and that is Su Yang deliberately picking faults. It seems that the conversation between the dog and the man was good last night. Su Yang needs to find a reason to get rid of Jiang Wanning first. Let's just break up, Jiang Wanning doesn't lack men. But this way of being a scumbag makes her very unhappy. Jiang Wanning had a bold idea in her mind, maybe the scumbag is in Bai Weiwei's rented room. She gently pushed open the door and cautiously approached the other side, with her ear pressed against the door. Sure enough, she heard Su Yang's roar coming from inside. Jiang Wanning, let's just do it today. I'm very angry. As soon as he finished shouting, he heard Bai Weiwei remind him, Su Yang, keep your voice down. Jiang Wanning lives across from her, don't let her hear her. What are you afraid of? She's a fool who won't be able to hear her through 2 levels of doors. Besides, your voice was also quite loud just now. Hate. Ha ha ha, let's come again. The disgusting conversation between the two made Jiang Wan shiver with goosebumps. She returned home and pretended to be aggrieved, saying, Su Yang, don't be angry. I woke up long ago. I was angry and forgot by the old witch just now. Do you know that the old witch wanted to enter the room and beat me? But I was in the middle of a video with the police, and they immediately discouraged me. The police comrade even said he would come to our building to ask questions one by one and see if anyone had been bullied by her. The reason she said this is to let Su Yang know that the police will soon knock on Bai Weiwei's door. Although unmarried cohabitation is not illegal, it is unethical and will be criticized and educated by the police. By then, Su Yang's reputation will be completely tarnished, and he may not be able to survive in the company. Tearing a man's painful voice came from across. Even through her phone, Jiang Wanning could feel Su Yang's frightened expression. When it's hot and bustling, suddenly being poured with a basin of cold water, will it be impossible to be a man in the future? Chapter 10. Simply order takeout. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hanging up the phone for the scumbag, Jiang Wanning's stomach growled loudly. It seems that the emperor crab and lobster from last night have already been digested, and she needs to make some food. Jiang Wanning casually orders delicious takeout. As a year-round home-based graphic designer, ordering takeout has become a habit. She also knows it's junk food, but cooking for someone is really speechless. Stir-frying 1 dish is not enough to eat, stir-frying 2 dishes is not enough to eat. Just as she was about to place an order, Jiang Wanning shook her hand. Why does she have to eat takeout when she's so wealthy? Can't we have the chef provide door-to-door service? Jiang Wanning didn't think much and dialed the Michelin restaurant number directly. Let the chef come to your door, why don't you have something you haven't eaten before? Hello, may I ask if you want to book a seat? The gentle voice of the little sister came from across. Can we have the chef come to our door to cook? Jiang Wanning asked weakly. This kind of thing is also her first time doing it, and she has no confidence in her heart. After all, the lives of wealthy people are difficult to control. Sorry, this service is not available in our store. What if I add money? This is not a matter of money. It's 10,000. If it's not enough, add 20,000, the dishes will be counted separately. Jiang Wanning confidently said. I've said before, it's not a matter of money, but we want to serve you. Could you please provide us with your address? Our 3-star chef is dedicated to serving you. The voice of the receptionist girl became even sweeter. She can get at least 5,000 commission for this order. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Wanning felt very beautiful, not only because she wanted to have a Michelin feast, but also because of the pleasure brought by money. She has much more confidence in speaking than before. After a while, she heard the sound of opening the door across from her. Jiang Wanning saw Su Yang carefully emerge from the crack in the door through her cat's eye, with a somewhat comical expression of being guilty and guilty. Bai Weiwei twisted her hips and followed behind, and the two of them sneaked into the elevator. It seems that this dog couple wants to go to the hotel and fight again. Jiang Wanning didn't have the time to talk to them. As long as Su Yang was trapped in this building the night before the end of the world, she didn't care about anything else. Su Yang, wait for me. Bai Weiwei stepped on her 10-centimeter high heels and twisted as she chased into the elevator. What are you doing with me? Su Yang's face was a bit angry. You haven't even satisfied them yet, you need to accompany them to the hotel to make up for it. Bai Weiwei's voice was like a feather, constantly rubbing against Su Yang's heart. The fire just now had not been extinguished, and some firewood was added, making Su Yang's whole body hot and unbearable. He hugged Bai Weiwei tightly, wishing to crush her waist. What hotel are you going to? It's right in your hallway. Su Yang said desperately. He doesn't care if Bai Weiwei will be frozen into sand tea. The two of them had just stepped off the elevator and were preparing to fight for 300 rounds when three men wearing white chef uniforms walked towards them. Bai Weiwei's eyes turned green and she exclaimed in surprise, Su Yang, look. The person in the middle is the 3-star chef of Mickey Lee. Su Yang could also tell the other person's identity from their attire, including a Samsung chef, an assistant chef, and a translator. He was shocked. The Michelin 3-star chef's door-to-door service is awesome. I don't know which princess is greedy. He pushed Bai Weiwei away, completely devoid of interest. If I could find a little rich woman, wouldn't it be like taking a step to the sky? The three of them quickly walked into the elevator, but Su Yang and Bai Weiwei still occupied the elevator and didn't leave. The translator glanced at them impatiently and said, your first floor has arrived. Su Yang and Bai Weiwei were kicked out of the elevator in a disheveled manner. At the moment when the elevator door closed, Su Yang exclaimed in surprise, the 10th floor, they set it for the 10th floor. Weiwei, don't you just live on the 10th floor? Do you know that I like to eat his food and deliberately prepared surprises for me? He likes shit. I haven't even eaten it before. Is it okay to say I like it? A casual meal at the Michelin restaurant costs 28,000 yuan, and even her small salary can only satisfy her craving through the glass window. But he was also afraid of being looked down upon by Bai Weiwei and deliberately pretended to be very arrogant. That's right, this is the surprise I prepared for you. Bai Weiwei nodded and said shamelessly. The 10th floor only houses her and Jiang Wanning, and she absolutely does not believe that Jiang Wanning has that strength. Recently, there has been a wealthy second generation chasing her, maybe it's a surprise for her. What are you still waiting for? Climb the stairs, don't let the Samsung chef wait outside the door. Without saying a word, Su Yang rushed up like a foolish deer. In order to slow down the speed of the elevator, Su Yang would press once on each floor. The Samsung chef inside the elevator kept roaring, no. 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 This elevator climbs slower than a snail. Su Yang, who was almost exhausted into a dog, climbed up the 10th floor and greeted Bai Weiwei with a smile at the door of her room. The three people who walked out of the elevator were shocked and gave Su Yang a glance. The Samsung chef, speaking in this fluent Chinese, asked softly, how did he get up? The person who despised Su Yang just now had an unpleasant expression on his face, and he actually offended the distinguished guest. He looked up at the door number above Su Yang's head and breathed a sigh of relief. The VIP was across from him. But why is this person blocking in front? Do you still have a playful and smiling face? The three of them ignored Su Yang and hurried to knock on Jiang Wanning's door. Su Yang petrified on the spot. He is a person who is always strong, how can he tolerate such a scene of social death? At this moment, Bai Weiwei followed over panting heavily and proudly said, Su Yang, have they entered the house? Enter your sister. Su Yang slapped Bai Weiwei's face with anger. He actually missed Jiang Wanning's Porsche just to get on Bai Weiwei's bus. This feeling is like a dog in the sun. In order to prevent Jiang Wanning from misunderstanding, he quickly hid. Bai Weiwei also saw the three people respectfully knocking on Jiang Wanning's door, her face turning black. Su Yang, they must have knocked on the wrong door. If Jiang Wanning can afford a Michelin feast, I'll go eat shit. She made a poisonous oath. Su Yang also realized that Jiang Wanning, whom he knew, did not have any money, only had one house, and was even deceived by Bai Weiwei. Who ordered the meal? Su Yang has some doubts. He won't miss any opportunity to get in touch with the rich woman. There is a wealthy second generation upstairs, and it is said that they have a company at home. It should be he who ordered it, explained Bai Weiwei. Upon learning that the other party was a wealthy second generation, Su Yang felt somewhat disappointed. Unfortunately, he is a man, otherwise he would definitely serve the other person comfortably. Just as the two were discussing, the door was opened and the Samsung chef bowed to Jiang Wanning, saying, "Respected Ms. Jiang Wanning, it's an honor to serve you." Su Yang and Bai Weiwei, who were hiding in the hallway, almost had their eyes falling to the ground. Is the Samsung chef really invited by Jiang Wanning? Bai Weiwei, you better go eat shit now. Su Yang pinched her neck and gritted his teeth. Su Yang, listen to my explanation. Just explain it, don't call me by my name in the future, I'm afraid Ning Ning will misunderstand. Su Yang said coldly.